At the end of 2023, Poland was on the front pages of news outlets all over the world. Reuters, Politico, BBC, CNN, you name it.
The election is perceived as the last chance to reverse the process of democratic backsliding through democratic means. Poland's democracy is on the brink. Can these elections save it? Big symbolic boost for supporters of liberal democracy and European integration, and so on.
The populist right-wing Law and Order Party. The populist right-wing Law and Justice Party lost, and the new centrist government was formed 2 months later. Things seem to be looking up for Poland, but we have another election coming up, one that won't receive that much international attention, but that arguably have a much more tangible impact on people's day-to-day lives.
It's about how local budgets are spent, how people commute to work, what amenities their neighborhood provides, availability of schools for their kids, accessibility to hospitals and doctors, what culture events the city offers, etc.
We're talking local government elections. Mayors, city councils, regional councils, governors. Hi, I'm Michał, this is Municipole, and the Poles are back in the polls. The current mayoral elections are a microcosm of Polish politics, and it's not great. Don't get me wrong, our new centrist government is better than the previous right wing, but if you're from the US, you know it all too well. Both parties are two sides of the same coin. And no other major political campaign is more symptomatic of the national situation than in Wrocław, Poland's third biggest city.
In other cities, the situation is quite clear. The current mayor of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski of the Civil Platform Party, was endorsed by Donald Tusk and is poised to win. Krakow seems quite straightforward too. A non-partisan candidate, Łukasz Gibała, is leading over the centrist Civil Platform Party and right-wing Law and Justice Party candidates.
But in Wrocław, the last couple of months have been a shit show. We learned the final list of candidates only 3 weeks before the elections. 2 candidates are non-partisan, 3 are supported by their political parties, and then there is this guy, the current mayor, Jacek Sutrzyk, non-partisan on paper, endorsed by the Donald Tusk Civil Platform Party in 2018, and now supported by the leftist party. He also expected to be endorsed by Donald Tusk this time.
At the same time, the leader of the local branch of the Civil Platform Party, together with his peers, city activists, and the Green Party, formed an opposing coalition and declared his desire to run for mayor as an official Civil Platform Party candidate. He had some good ideas and a lot of popular support and was quite likely to win the mayoral race.
So Donald Tusk had 3 options: endorse the current mayor, endorse the new candidate from the Civil Platform Party, or do nothing. So he did nothing, at least until the deadline for registering the new candidates. Donald Tusk officially endorsed Jacek Sutrzyk a week later, and people in Wrocław felt betrayed, and rightfully so. It was a huge mistake for such an experienced politician to make. Donald Tusk lost a lot of support in Wrocław. So Wrocław is going to choose between 6 official candidates, none of whom are great. The strongest contestant so far is unfortunately Jacek Sutrzyk, the current mayor, who is gathering support using official and unofficial channels.
That includes Wrocław's official newspaper, displays on trams and buses, a bunch of different city agencies' Facebook profiles, as well as his own, supposedly private Facebook and Instagram accounts.
His campaign has been spewing propaganda 24/7 to create noise, to drown out all the failures and scandals that have marked this term, and there's a lot to drown out.
Let's start with some of Sutryk's electoral promises and accomplishments. When he first ran for mayor in 2018, Sutrzyk promised to build 8 new tram lines, including tram lines to Nowy Dwór and Popowice. There's just one problem though. The tram lines to Nowy Dwór and Popowice were already in the works. They had been approved and funded by the previous mayor. So those 2 lines would have been built anyway. What about the other 6 lines, you ask? He never built those. The 6 tram lines Jacek promised would have gone to Jagodno, Maślice, Swojczyce, Ołtaszyn, Muchobór Wielki, Bartoszowice. Jagodno and Maślice have been promised a tram line every election since the mid-2000s. There were also ideas to reorganize traffic, create reliable bus lanes, and add more connections to alleviate the congestion in these neighborhoods. But as you might have guessed, none of that happened. During his campaign in 2018, Jacek Sutrzyk portrayed himself as a modern, progressive, and young bike enthusiast. Wrocław city activists and cyclists got their hopes up. In the 2010s, Wrocław started emerging as the leader of new city bike infrastructure in Poland. However, this grand cycling project was never really finished, so the city really needed a motivated mayor who was going to finish the job. Sutrzyk signed Wrocław Cyclist Declaration. He committed to carving out at least 30 million Polish zloty per year of the city's budget for new bike infrastructure, modernizing the existing one, setting up more bike parking, etc. And he was off to a good start. These are examples of a few streets that were remodeled between 2019 and 2021. Unfortunately, Wrocław spent only a fraction of the annual 30 million Polish zloty budget for bike infrastructure. This is the plot showing the bike program budget since 2015. You can clearly see a dip in those numbers in the 2020 budget. The difference is even more remarkable when you adjust the plot for inflation. Of course, in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic started, which some might argue could explain the decrease in spending. But then if you compare it to what the city spent on roads and public transit, you can see that the pandemic didn't stop new roads from being built. The city has been spending way more, again, adjusted for inflation, on roads than on public transportation and cycling infrastructure. This has created a lot of problems, which we'll tackle in a minute. And how has the bike money been spent? Chaotically, at best. This is what Wrocław's bike network looks like. Jacek Sutrzyk promised to build at least 100 kilometers of separate bike lanes. Between 2019 and now, only 62 kilometers have been built. As a matter of fact, it's quite difficult to find precise numbers. Wrocław's official channels toot their own horn mentioning 1,400 kilometers of bike-friendly route network. But those numbers are misleading, since the city factors in separate bike paths, painted lanes, shared pedestrian cyclist paths, and traffic calming 30 km/h zones, although they're anything but calm. Outside of the city center, the infrastructure looks decent, but it gets worse and more dangerous the closer to the city center you get. Separated bike lanes blend with sidewalks, divert from the main street, turn into bike lanes which spit you out in the middle of a busy intersection, or sometimes vanish entirely. The city clearly develops its bike network only where it's convenient. This is not what being the leader in cycling infrastructure looks like.
And that was the mayor. That was him. That's Jacek Sutrzyk. The city council and Jacek Sutrzyk committed to change Wrocław citizen transportation habits by changing the proportion in modal share. In 2018, 41% of commutes were done by car, 28% by public transit, 6% by bike, and 24% on foot. Unfortunately, all the scandals and failures and broken promises made the car dependency in Wrocław even worse.
In January 2021, when Poland was still responding to the COVID-19 outbreak, Jacek Sutrzyk and his party raised the Wrocław public transit ticket prices, despite resistance from the opposition. In May, the opposition fought to keep public transit tickets at the pre-2021 price. But the mayor pushed back again to raise ticket prices, and this time he succeeded. A single ride ticket used to be 3.40. Now it's 4.60, $1.20, a 35% increase. A 30-minute ticket used to be 3 zloty, now it's 4, a 33% increase. In this case, Wrocław residents were not getting what they were paying for, they were getting less. Assuming the median salary of New Yorkers is $5,600 per month, a single ride ticket costs 0.05% of their monthly salary. In comparison, a single ride ticket in Wrocław costs 0.08% of a resident's monthly salary. Assuming the median salary is 5,700 Polish zloty per month, $1,400 per month. So not only is Wrocław transit price more expensive relative to the median salary, but it's also substantially lower quality.
The city is more congested now than ever. In 2015, there were 600 cars registered in Wrocław per 1,000 citizens. In 2022, that number was 740 per 1,000 citizens. On top of that, an estimated 250,000 cars enter Wrocław every single day from villages and towns nearby. Our park and ride system has 2,556 spots, a whopping 1% of the number of cars pouring into the city. As a result, it's difficult to drive a car in Wrocław.
According to the 2018 TomTom's Global Traffic Index, Wrocław came in at 51 out of the 403 most congested cities in the world, with a congestion level of 35%. In 2023, Wrocław placed 21st in the world, with an average speed during rush hour of 20 kilometers per hour. The number of cars has had significant impact on public transit too. Buses are notoriously stuck in traffic because there are no separate bus lanes. Trams are slow, infrequent, and late, since they too share much of the road space with cars. The average tram speed is 16.6 kilometers per hour. Funny enough, all of these poor city planning decisions have inadvertently made cycling the fastest option in Wrocław. Unreliable public transportation means more people choose to drive. Emissions from the insane amount of cars and congestion, as well as smoke from household furnaces in winter, result in record-breaking pollution. This is what Wrocław looked like when I was writing the script. Wrocław regularly ranks among the most polluted cities in the world, along with cities in China, India, and Pakistan, according to IQA ranking. The concentration of the most dangerous PM 2.5 is often 3 to 4 times higher than WHO recommendation, sometimes skyrocketing to 8 to 9 times higher than the recommended WHO levels. It's unimaginable and embarrassing that a European city can still be that polluted in 2024. If you thought it can't get any worse, it's absolutely about to. Jacek Sutrzyk has been involved in numerous controversies and scandals during his term. In the beginning, Sutrzyk said he wanted to establish open communication and transparency with Wrocław residents. He was active on social media, responding to comments both positive and negative, but the response to the critical comments became more and more unhinged and unprofessional. In 2021, he published this photo of himself sitting in the backseat of a limousine on the way to Olsztyn, a city in northeast Poland, while watching a movie on an official trip to a youth climate change conference. One commenter suggested a comfortable train connection instead of a private limousine with a chauffeur. The mayor's response was, "Then go ahead and take the train." It gets worse. Another comment under the same post said, "Mr. Mayor, I haven't been bathed for 22 days. How much longer, Mr. Mayor?" It was a cry for help from residents of a city nursing home suffering from neglect. The mayor's response was, "I recommend less internet and more bathing." As you can imagine, the public was outraged, demanding the mayor to step down. He should apologize as soon as possible, but the milk has already been spilled. We saw the real face of Jacek Sutrzyk. Now we see why the city hall spends millions for mayor's PR. If the residents found out what he really is like, they would thank him for his work a long time ago, wrote a local activist in a city council. The controversies eventually died down, mostly because the mayor just started blocking people writing any critical comments at all. There's even a Facebook group for people blocked by Jacek Sutrzyk with over 1,800 members. So now, the majority of comments under his posts look like an elderly WhatsApp group chat, wishing him to have a nice day, or tasty coffee, and sharing stickers and gifts. Once he became mayor, he leveraged his political connections to join the board of directors of 2 companies owned by other cities, a sewage company and a logistics company, as well as a regional train company, all of which he received financial compensation for, in addition to his mayoral office salary. His employee even attempted to bribe a journalist with a seat on the board of directors of a city-owned soccer team in a desperate attempt to silence his criticism. Recently, 3 more scandals shook Wrocław City Hall. A City Hall employee recorded videos for her OnlyFans profile in her office during work hours. Another City Hall employee ran a second-hand dealership Facebook page selling cars owned by the city. And last, but not least, it was discovered that Sutrzyk allegedly purchased an MBA degree, which is required both to hold office and serve on any board of directors. The school where he got his degree was essentially a business helping government candidates, directors, board members, and managers to get the MBA degree required for those positions. It was also discovered that he used taxpayer money to pay for the MBAs of his vice mayor, the director of the Department of Educational Finance, the director of the Department of Real Estate and Operations, and more.
So what now? Honestly, the situation in Wrocław might seem a little bit bleak. It looks like we might be stuck with the same mayor for the next 5 years, but not all hope is lost. There's still amazing people running for city council in Wrocław and in Poland in general. That's why I started this channel. I would like to show you the grassroots movements happening here and how change is painstakingly made in an environment where politicians, nepotism, corruption and scandals attempt to stand in the way of progress. And there is a lot to be done. Wrocław needs more international attention so the mayor and the city council can be held accountable. Wrocław residents deserve better. You deserve better. We all deserve better. If you enjoyed this video, please consider sharing it with your friends, even if you don't live in Poland. Many of these issues can be found in cities all over the world. If you live in Poland and Wrocław specifically, please vote for city council candidates that want a better city and support city activist movements. Links to their Facebook pages in the description down below. This has been Municipole. I'll see you next time.